Welcome to the British Music Experience. My name's Paul Lilly, I'm the curator here. The British Music Experience is Britain's national museum of popular music. Been open about 9 months here. I'm sure you've all had time this evening to see the terrific exhibition and museum galleries through there. Another part of what we do are these public programme events, and this is one of them tonight, so I'm glad you could all make it. It's a songwriting one with someone who I think you all know. I think we'll get started. Ladies and gentlemen, Hugh Cornwell.
Thank you.
I'd really like to begin by taking you back to the beginning, and I just wonder, you know, your house that you grew up in, was it a musical house?
Yeah, my dad was a big classical music fanatic, so he was always listening to classical music. So whether I liked it or not, it was always on. And then my oldest, I had two brothers and a sister. My oldest brother, he got really into jazz, and I shared a bedroom with him. So I was subjected to a lot of jazz without any choice in the matter. And then my second eldest brother discovered rhythm and blues and Hendrix and the Cream. So I got an Eddie Cochran, so I got that as well. So I was barraged by all these things without having any choice in the matter. Yeah. And
it's quite a diverse mix, isn't it?
And country and western as well. They used to have Wally Whiten on Saturday evening, about 6 o'clock. There was a great country and western show. So and I had to listen to that as well.
Yeah.
And it's actually quite good being in a situation where you've got no control over what you're being subjected to, because you end up listening to things you would never, if you had the choice, listen to.
Absolutely. Is that, so, you know, you've got all these different kind of influences feeding in. What were the first records that you bought?
First records I bought were, the first record I got given was What Do You Want to Make Those Eyes at Me For by Emerald Ford and the Checkmates. And the other side of that was I'd Like to Get You on a Slow... No, I'd Like to Get You on a Slow Boat to China. Yeah, was the speed side. And I learnt that. My aunt and uncle gave me that for Christmas, and I learnt I learnt both those songs, how to sing them, all the words and everything, very quickly. And then the first record, God, I think it was a Chuck Berry EP with Sweet Little 16, and I used to like him, and early Cliff Richard stuff, things like that. The Stranglers sound started as a trio, bass, drums and guitar, and we rehearsed for 6 months, the three of us, before we'd even heard of Dave Greenfield, before the other two hadn't even heard of Hans Wermling from Sweden. We rehearsed for 6 months, the three of us, so we were a trio, and we had that basic punk lineup, which was guitar, bass and drums, which is, to me, the essence of rock and roll. It's, you go back through time to the beginning of rock and roll, it's always been a guitar, a bass and a set of drums, and then someone's been singing. Whether it's one of the three or another person making it a four-piece, it's still that basic thing, and I think that is something that is the longevity of rock music, and it will always be there. And what a lot of people, they think, oh, Stranglers, well, they got keyboards, but they're different. But we started out as a power trio. And we actually did a few gigs as a trio after Hans came over and joined us for about a year, and we did some more writing with him. And then he got out of the bus one day, said he didn't want to do another bloody wedding gig, because we had to play a Tie Yellow Ribbon. He said, I don't want to play that song anymore, our songs are better. And he was right, but we were being pragmatic, as the situation demanded. So he got out of the bus, and we decided to do the gig without him. So we did it as just a trio, and people loved it. So the essence was there, and then, of course, then Dave Groove came in, we added another dimension. But I think people forget that it was that essence that was there, and whatever you put on top, the essence was always there, because we'd done so much work together as a three-piece, and we got really close together and very tight as people together, living together.
Kind of in that early Stranglers period, your lyrics were pretty polarising. You know, even now, kind of the sexism is kind of levied in the like. To what extent was that? Did you do that on purpose to kind of provoke, or was it on a tour bus, in a pub, kind of stream of consciousness stuff?
A bit of both. I mean, it was a case of, there was a lot of bravado in music in those days, and the early punk stuff. It was bravado, and it was almost see what you could get away with, and it was fun too. It's like being a schoolboy, you know. It's like, well, I wonder if I can put clitoris in a song and get away with it, you know. And, I wonder how many people will know what it means, you know, and all this sort of thing. So it was a lot of that was involved, but also you could never write a lyric like Peaches now and get away with it, because we're still so politically correct, and it's so dull and boring.
It's funny though that obviously some of your songs have been used in commercials and films. So is that, were you kind of ahead of your time? Was the society mellowed a bit?
I've no idea. I really don't know.
It is funny though, isn't it, that songs like, you know, Peaches and Golden Brown, these, you know, songs about drugs and sex work, have been picked up by global corporations with like Cleaner Than Clean.
It's because I think because they've been around so long, they become part of the wallpaper. I think that's what it is, and they've forgotten that if they'd have been new, it would have been the same reaction, I'm sure. Even more so now, because you're not allowed to. You have to be PC. I mean, PC is a terrible attitude to have, I think, because it stifles discussion and objectivity. And it's terrible now. I mean, there are these comedians are walking out of the BBC. They're saying, "You can't censor my jokes. You know, what are you doing?" And they're absolutely right. Maybe they should call it the BPC.
After a while, you left the Stranglers. I just want to know, you know, from your songwriting point of view, was that change, you know, was that creativity based? I mean, what's the difference between being in a band? Do you bounce off people in a band, or in solo? Are you given more freedom to do what you want?
Well, I mean, normally when people are in bands, it's when they're starting out in their musical career, so they're more unsure about what they can do, and they're more, they need support from people around them, and everyone's in a boat and they're not sure if it's going to sink, so you all help each other, and it's that sort of mentality is going on. So and then when people get more confident and they know more what they're more aware of what they're capable of and what they can do, then they start thinking, well, actually, I'm finding the way I'm being directed by writing with other people or in a style or something, it's not quite who I am. And you suddenly as you get older, you realise who you are, I think, more. And it's more of a sketchy when you're younger. So I think I'm happier now that what I write now is much more reflective of who I am than anything I wrote when I was in the Stranglers, because although I might have written a song by myself in the Stranglers, I was constantly aware that it was for the band, and we had a certain style and a certain perception. So it was, well, that's a brief that you're writing with a bit in. And I mean, I still have a writing brief now, but it's more true to me rather than a group of people.
Cadiz is a brilliant song.
Cadiz.
Love it.
That's on Beyond Lilies and Fields.
Yeah.
So you want to hear that?
Yeah, Cadiz or Harry Potter. Cadiz.
Harry Potter. I can't remember. I haven't played it for ages. I might be able to get through Cadiz though.
Cadiz is a Spanish place.
Yeah,
Spanish
that town in
support,
Spain. Yeah, and the oldest town in Europe.
Very easy.
She was a woman with a magnetic smile pointed at me like a compass at night. I can't imagine what the world would be like without her sunset to brighten up her skies, showed me her streets and the cool shadows in which I lingered before bursting into light, opened her door. I was beckoned inside into a fairy tale. I climbed up to her heights. Oh, look at this. Fire she is. Oh, look at this. Fire she is. Walk down the steps and the centuries echo the footsteps.
Sorry, do you find working on a word processor easier to write, or actually pen and paper? I mean, which do you find?
Not
is
lyrics, no. When I write prose, I use a computer, but for lyrics, it's got to be handwritten, because you can scrub things out and put circles around things and put that in there instead of there. I like doing all that. So lyrics-wise, it's got to be pen and paper.
I find that what happens with me also with word processors is you end up with endless noodling and endless changing, and lose the continuum of what you started with. You know, that's interesting. Okay, cheers.
Is there anybody that you'd wished you'd recorded with, past or present? Is there anybody you'd like to, or any heroes?
I'd love to record with Richard Thompson at some stage, and we're talking all the time, you know, whether that will happen or not. But that would be a completion of a circle for me, because we have so much common ground from the past, you know. So that would be great. Loads of people I'd love to work with, yeah. The list is endless, you know.
One more. With the Rattus that you're doing on the tour, are you planning on doing any more Stranglers albums, or are you just going to stick to that one?
That would be telling, wouldn't it? You just have to keep your eyes open, ears open.
Thank you. I ask this question of many songwriters that I meet, because I haven't quite nailed my process, and maybe I never will. But just picking up on what you were saying about your painter friend and your process, do you think there's something to be said for just the quote-unquote discipline of kind of going to a dedicated space a certain time, even on those days when you don't quite, you know, on the rubbish days, in quotation marks, with the hope of maybe finding a little gem somewhere in that space?
It depends if you've got a busy life or not. If you've got a lot of time to spend to dedicate to that, then fine. I mean, I spent a lot of years when I got my first Cubase set up and all that computerized stuff, and I spent days and days and days just sitting there doing stuff, and I didn't actually come. You know, the amount of bits that came out for the amount of time I put in was very, very low return. But if you've got time to do that, then I'm sure things do crop up. But I'd like to do other things. You know, I think life is a rich tapestry that one has to experience. And you never know, when you're doing something else, you might get an idea for a lyric or something that you wouldn't have come across if you'd been sitting in a disciplined space. Yeah.
When you're there, strange little girl, she didn't know how to live in a town.